Are you recording?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, snappages.
Snap.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I do like
Was that Macho Man?
It was, but I really like the Sasquatch one. That's Slim
Messing
Jim?
with Sasquatch? That's Jack Link's, isn't it?
Yeah,
or no,
it
is Slim.
No, it is Jack Link's.
Is it Jack Link's? Yeah.
I love those.
Messing with Sasquatch. I liked the older ones where they, like, Sasquatch would just pick them up and throw them.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like, and just chucks them across the campground.
The ones more recently, like, they get the best of Sasquatch. And I don't think that's fair.
No, Sasquatch.
You don't get to mess with Sasquatch and win.
No, believe me, if you mess with Sasquatch, you would probably be thrown across the road.
Speaking of Sasquatch, in the Himalayas, they think they found Yeti / abominable snowman footprints.
What?
Why
are they always footprints?
Well, you can't find the actual being.
Is it visible?
30 inches by 15 inches. They've taken photographs and they've turned them into scientific institutions for studying.
Okay.
How cool is that?
That's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
I want to see one. If they're real, I want to see one.
Right?
But here's the deal. Remember the dude? This is really getting off the rails before we start. But remember do you remember years ago where the guy claimed he had one in a freezer?
No.
Oh my God, you got to look this up. This is so good. This guy claimed he had one in a freezer. It was so good. People were believing him so much that this was on the Today Show and all kinds of stuff. And he claimed he had one dead and he put it in the freezer to preserve it.
They don't fit in freezers.
This was one of those big chest freezers. It was basically like a coffin.
He had a Bigfoot child?
Well, maybe. I don't know, but it turned out it was just a suit in a freezer.
Suit?
A Sasquatch suit.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was awesome. That was the little moment of hope that, hey, somebody found a Sasquatch.
And I've got it.
No, you didn't.
Have you watched the Netflix Sasquatch quote-unquote documentary?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a tendency of watching those things with the hopes that they're going to find something, but then I always remember at the end, oh, yeah, if they would have found something, it would have already been, news.
Yeah, this wouldn't be where you found out.
It's I get so disappointed at the end. I'm like, what? They didn't find anything? What?
I always have hopes that the news community isn't quite sure yet, but I'm gonna see something in the video that oh, well, for sure, that's real.
You're the dude that discovers it. Hey, this has been in the public for this whole time, but did you guys notice this?
Right? Did you see this piece?
And everybody's like, OMG.
Oh, snap.
I totally didn't even see that squatch sitting over there squatching.
So if a Sasquatch were to put a large amount of weight on its back and do a squat, that'd be a squat. Oh my God. Right? Hey, speaking of dad jokes, whenever the cashier at the grocery store asks my dad if he would like the milk in a bag, he replies, "No, just leave it in the carton."
That is such a dad response.
Such a dad response. And he's just got that one locked and loaded.
I might use it.
Not only locked and loaded, but he's hoping.
It's come on.
Oh, just do it. In the bag.
So want to use this joke. And the kids are sitting there Dad. Dad's score. Totally won this.
Yeah.
So what's going on, Chad?
So today we're talking about Axe body spray and hair care products, right? On this tech podcast?
I hope not.
Mike, what are we talking about?
So last week we talked about Tesla.
We did it.
And I wanted to talk a little bit more about it, but I wanted to talk about it in a different way.
Okay. About
a guy who actually fixes Teslas.
Sweet.
And a couple other things.
All right.
A couple other little we'll sneak them in there.
All right.
Some Apple Qualcomm issues or drama, and a little bit about Amazon.
All right.
In their future.
Let's talk about that.
Let's do it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Lunchtime Tech Talk. I'm Chad.
And I'm Mike. So last week we talked about Tesla
Yes.
and how they're going to drive us around everywhere in the future of robo-taxis.
It's going to be so cool.
It's going to be neat. It's going to be pretty neat. But I guess there's a guy who bought a Tesla that was kind of broken and found out some interesting stuff.
Like crashed or just wouldn't run right anymore?
It was in a flood.
Oh, well
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, so there's this guy on YouTube. This is how he kind of became known in the Tesla community. His name is Rich, and he's got a YouTube channel called Rich Rebuilds. It's pretty neat. He found out that quick story about him. He was a muscle car kind of guy. He had I believe it's a Corvette Z06 from 2006, and he really liked it. He had a friend that came over with a Model S and was like, dude, you got to check this out. This is awesome. And he's like, no, dude, it's an electric car. Don't care about it.
Right.
Got in it, drove it, and was like, okay, I've got to have one of these. How much is it? And pretty much the guy was like, this one is $120,000. He's like, okay, never mind.
Right.
Just like the rest of the majority of America.
Else. Yep.
And but he said he was pretty handy and he wanted to figure out what he could do, if he could find one used or damaged or something and repair it. So he found one on one of those. I guess whenever you total a car, the bank can take them back. Or
yes.
The place takes them back, and basically they re-auction them off. And they'll sell them to people because people will park them, right?
Yeah.
And so he found this one for like $15,000, and it had been flooded in one of the floods, I think, down south. And so he started tearing this thing apart and realized, oh man, I can't use this part, I can't use this part. So he called Tesla and was like, hey, Tesla, I need this part and a motor, and can I just buy that? Maybe this $15,000 Tesla, I'll put $20,000 in it, and they'll have cars good as new.
$120,000 Tesla for
Right.
40 or 50 grand.
Right. Well, Tesla told him, no, sorry, we don't do that.
No dice.
No, you can't buy parts. And so that was kind of like his whole start, his whole mission of okay, if you're not going to sell me parts, I'm going to go out and try to find these parts. So he would find other Teslas that were wrecked in different type of things. Like he would find one that had a front end collision if he needed something from the back. And
Franken Tesla.
yes, and he'd piece them all together, and he got this thing running, right? But there was so much drama in between. It's pretty wild. So it turns out whenever you wreck your car and you have GPS in it, and you know how you can program your GPS to say where your home is, you should probably erase that before you get rid of your car.
Actually, one better. Here's a tip to all the listeners. My wife and I read this recently. You shouldn't ever put your home in, so whatever town you live in, put the Walmart in.
Oh, because you know where your home is.
Right, because once you get to Walmart, you know how to get home.
Right, that's a good idea.
And so, if you go on a long road trip and you're ready to turn around and go home, you just click home, but it's Walmart or whatever. And so you get to the vicinity.
That's a good idea.
And that way no one can ever find you.
Right, so that's what happened with this guy. So, okay, this is where it kind of gets crazy, and I hate to tell his whole story, but I'll try to abbreviate it.
We'll also send you out to his channel and, give him some love.
Definitely. But he basically bought basically the good electronics in a Tesla. And he plugged them in, got them up and running, and realized that he couldn't fully start this car because he didn't have a key for that particular...
whichever set of guts he got.
Yeah, whatever it was. So he was pretty smart, and he clicked the home button or clicked the navigation and found the home, found the address of the guy, wound up calling the guy, and the guy's like, no, I don't have the key. Sorry, dude. And they wound up talking. Well, what's really interesting is that Z06 Corvette that he has, he was actually this guy's old Corvette. So he wound up buying this guy's crashed Tesla and this guy's Z06 years apart.
Just happenstance.
How does that happen?
The world's so small, and it's all ran by wizards. So, of course, he has a connection to this person.
Right. Exactly. So he this guy winds up finding the key and winds up selling it to him. I don't think he was too happy about that. Like, dude, you didn't even have this key prior, but now you do, and I'm not too happy about that. But what's crazy about it is he got the key, and he wanted to basically use the car from now on. Well, it turns out that whenever you buy a Tesla, they're always talking back to basically Tesla. So it's like all the mothership knows where all of its little
Minions
cars are.
Yeah.
So if you get a Tesla, you are being tracked. They know exactly where your Tesla is. They know exactly the status of it, and they know all those things. That's how they develop all of this stuff so quickly.
Right.
But so Tesla told him, no, we can't. You can't use this car because it's been wrecked. It's been salvaged. We won't activate it in our system. So I guess he had to get somebody to who knew how to hack the Tesla system in his car, just to be able to drive this thing. So this person hacked the car and essentially made it to where it can get updates. Tesla just doesn't know it exists, and it can still use a supercharger system. It is crazy.
This is insane.
But in all of this process, right, I guess Tesla got a little bit more lenient on selling stuff and giving out part information and all this. So this guy on YouTube essentially is changing the way that Tesla is somewhat working with their used market.
Viva la revolution!
It's just crazy. This one dude.
Yeah.
He could have just given up.
One person can change the world.
Well, or maybe.
That's what they always say. That's what people want you to believe.
But I just thought that was kind of a neat little add-on to our conversation last week. These cars are really, really cool, but if you do have problems with them, it might be a nightmare to get any work done on them.
Yeah.
Because apparently this guy is having to buy cars and use pieces from them.
My gosh, that's insane.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because, you can go to O'Reilly and buy parts for just about any car.
Right.
But I don't think you can go there and buy Tesla parts.
So I was asking you last week about how do you buy a Tesla? Because I've never seen a Tesla dealership. So we're in Missouri. I ended up seeing a map that, out in California, there are tons of Tesla locations where you can walk in and buy a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
There were only 7 states that are allowed to have Tesla dealerships because whatever they're actually called, but the Dealership Society of America, doesn't want Tesla to be able to be sold in the states where they're selling cars.
Yeah.
And so Missouri has a location, but it's under dispute whether or not they can sell cars there.
Oh, really?
So in a state like that, there's a showroom. You can go in and look at Teslas, but you still have to order them online.
Oh, okay.
And so that showroom cannot sell you a car, but you can go and look at them.
Yeah.
So Tesla's in this weird, just sort of limbo gray area with kind of everything that they do.
Yeah. They're like a little car selling rebels.
Yeah. And I would say if, maybe not the majority, but I bet a lot of people who buy Teslas, if they knew everything we've talked about in the last couple of episodes about how much information they're really getting from you, they might not want them.
Yeah, it might scare people off.
Because a lot of your electric car drivers are also your off-the-grid people. And your off-the-grid people don't want to be tracked.
Yeah.
Oh,
for sure. For sure.
So anyway, that's just kind of a weird gray area.
Yeah, I wonder how many people that own them know how much information Tesla knows about their driving habits and their patterns, and I wonder how many people are just I know that they're doing this, but it's fine because it is what it is. They're making the car that I love.
Yeah.
And they're okay with it.
Yeah.
Because they are trying to change the industry, so maybe Big Brother tracking us is part of it.
But it's not Big Brother. It's just your cool cousin, Elon.
That'd be weird if he was my cousin. Because then I would be from another planet.
Aliens.
Yeah. So, But yeah, I guess this guy, like, some of the parts that he couldn't use, apparently these things are like worth a ton, even wrecked.
Right.
So he had a Tesla motor that had been submerged in salt water, and basically it was just toast, and it was worth $5,000 broken. And he sold it to somebody, and he's like, I don't really know what the guy did with it. Maybe he took it all apart. Maybe he was just wanting to look at the inside of it to figure it out, or maybe he knew how to repair stuff like that. That's like crazy. He said a wrecked Tesla can typically be worth $50,000. Like if you part it out properly.
Yeah.
Like that is insane.
So that's interesting. Like, yeah, especially older vehicles, you know, like the engine compartment was not as occupied as they are today. And so, like, you could get in there and you could tinker and whatever. And less so now on today's cars, and I would say even less so on something like a Tesla, where really you probably need to be an electrician rather than a mechanic to figure out how to fix one. But, like, when I was a kid, I loved taking, like, my toys apart, remote control cars and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, if you wanted to tinker with your Tesla but you didn't want to break it, like, buy a different motor and tinker with that. It already doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
You can take it apart, you can look at it, and you know what you've got then.
Or who knows? Well, I guess since Tesla releases all their patents, I was going to say it could have been just another manufacturer wanting to see how their stuff was done, and $5,000 is nothing to, like, a big manufacturer.
Yeah, to Rivian.
Yeah, there you go. Did you see that we talked about how Rivian is part owned by Amazon? Did we mention that they're part owned by Ford also?
We did. We mentioned both.
Well, I saw something the other day that Ford is really going to probably be pushing that to be the next electric F-150.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I like a big manufacturer to produce a truck. I mean, Ford knows how to make trucks. They are the number one truck selling
year after year for like 70 years.
Yeah,
or
so
something like that.
I don't know how much the thing will be. Ford will probably put some stupid price tag on it. But if they can do it to where they're mass market and they put hundreds of thousands of these out every year, 10, 15 years, electric trucks will be, you know, I say normal price, $50,000, $60,000, which is what like a truck is now.
I looked it up yesterday when I was doing the show notes. The Rivian SUV was, I think, like $89,000, and you could pre-order those with $1,000 down payment. And for right now, they're only releasing like so in 2020, I think it was, they're going to start producing the 400-mile versions, and they'll be available in 2020 for the SUV. And I think the trucks were somewhere in the $60,000 to $70,000 range.
Okay. Well, the trucks were cheaper.
The trucks are cheaper than the SUV, but the SUV can go 400 miles.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a long way. You can make it. All. I'm just thinking locally here from Springfield, Missouri. You can make it up to St. Louis, Kansas City,
and back.
You can make it to probably what? Could you make it down into Texas?
8-hour drive. I don't think so. I mean, into Texas, yes, but like to Dallas, no.
Yeah, you might be able to make it to maybe McKinney, Texas. Maybe.
But it's got 3 rows of seats. Because it's an SUV, they thought wading depth was important, so you can go through 3 feet of water without messing up your stuff.
Well, that's kind of a
big deal.
That's neat, but that's also kind of terrifying because people might think they can go through water crossings.
Right. So 72.5.
Yeah, this thing's cool looking.
It's so cool looking.
It reminds me of a Range Rover.
Yes.
And a Jeep cross.
And inside, it's wood and leather, and it looks really nice. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about this company coming out. It does look pretty cool.
And then the truck is starting at $69,000.
Gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it has a 400 plus also.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, couple of. Can you see that cutout right behind the door.
Yeah.
It's a gear compartment. So it has like this, goes all the way through, and it's carpeted.
Oh,
so
see,
you can
that's
throw
so
like your
cool.
mountain bike helmets in there and all that
See,
kind of stuff. Like,
this is the thing with electric vehicles. Like, if you ever look at like Tesla, they have all these extra compartments because the motor is by the wheel.
right.
Like, it's not in this gigantic bay, and then the batteries are flat on the floor. So you have all these areas that have been around normal cars, and to make these cars look like normal cars, they have all these storage options.
Yeah. I mean, they're thinking about the people that are going to be using these, and because
think about it, you just get rid of toolboxes right there with that compartment that's behind your seats but still accessible outside.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
And it's got charging points in the bed of the truck, and the spare tire is stored under the bed, like not under the truck, but under the bed.
It's got raises.
It's got like a tailgate.
The cars are going to be so cool over the next 10 years.
These are the kinds of things that they used to show us when they had a concept car, and then when the actual car came out, it was just like every other car.
Right.
But like, people are finally starting to actually build their concepts, and concepts are sick.
They are cool. They are really cool. Like, I've always wondered that, like, why, like, whenever you look at car shows and stuff, they have these concepts, and then, like, the Nissan Leaf, for example, had some really cool concepts. Like, you're like, whoa, if that comes out, that's going to be awesome looking.
Right, and then it doesn't.
Then it comes out and it just looks like, you know, a Prius with a little bit different curves on it. Right. And it's like, why did you do that? Like, whatever. But maybe with, you know, companies like Amazon being involved, and, you know, with Tesla pushing kind of the envelope of stuff, that other manufacturers, like their traditional manufacturers, will push out these, like, okay, we got to get some more radical ideas for this stuff. Yeah. I'm excited about it. I think it's neat. I mean, I definitely am not going to be in the market for a brand new one, but, you know, 15 years from now, there's going to be used ones on the market. Yeah. Used truck. I'll take a used electric truck. Right. I like my electric car. Electric truck would be even better. Yeah. Sold. But yeah, that's a little follow-up there that I had on Tesla. Cool. So Apple had some news. Yes. Yeah, they settled with Qualcomm. Qualcomm. I was going to say they lost. Well, but they didn't technically. You're right. They settled. I think this is an in-game type scenario. They have been fighting. Oh, not that in-game. That's the spoiler. The Avengers Endgame. It's at the end of that movie. It's the Qualcomm versus Apple lawsuit. Sorry, guys, spoiled it for you. That's why people have been crying. Yeah, they're like, that's such a terrible ending. Such a terrible ending. So no, but I think so. The Qualcomm and Apple thing, basically, Qualcomm makes modems. So, like your cell phone antenna modem, so you can receive all your datas and all that stuff on your iPhones and a lot of other phones. Right. They're put in just about every type of phone out there you can think of. So Qualcomm has this thing where they may make a $7 modem, right? But they're not going to charge you $7 for you to put it in your $1,000 phone or your $200 phone. Sure. Qualcomm says, if you want our modems, you have to basically give us a percentage based off of the price of the phone that you're selling. Okay. So if you have a $250 phone, you pay less for that exact same modem than you would if you had sold a $1,000 phone. So Apple, being the premium type brand product, all their phones are expensive. Yes. So they are paying a higher premium. So Apple basically said, we're not going to pay you this. We're going to stop. And they stopped paying it. Well, Qualcomm, of course, got upset. Like, dude, you're breaking contract here. Sure. Apple tried to get clever and tried to go with Intel. And a lot of the Intel modems have had issues. I think in the iPhone XS and the XS Max, there's an Intel modem for at least AT&T stuff, which they have found doesn't have as good of connectivity as what the Qualcomm stuff does. And this is, not that this is important, but is this for phone calls or for Wi-Fi or for yes? Yes, I think this is the cell.
Okay.
The cell. So you're receiving data and phone calls. I believe that's all combined into that one thing. I don't know if this is also dealing with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I'm not sure on that, but I know it's the main cell
Receiver.
antenna. So you basically LTE type technology. So everybody's talking about this 5G thing, right?
Yes.
Well, turns out Intel decided, you know what, we're not going to do this.
We're no good at it.
This is way too hard.
Yeah.
Way too complicated, and we're out. We're not going to do it. Well, that put Apple in kind of a bind because their kind of plan, from what everybody was saying, was we're going to go with Intel for now while we develop our own antennas on the side.
Okay.
Because
they were a stopgap.
There's a law out there that Qualcomm cannot hold that patent because it's basically a necessity.
It's too important.
Yeah, it's too important. Now you have to pay, I guess you have to pay some sort of royalty to Qualcomm if you use their patent.
Okay.
So they do make a little bit of money off of it because they basically came up with the technology.
But they don't have a monopoly on the item.
Exactly. You can make it if you want. Here's our patent, blah, 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 but good luck, and you have to pay us to use that patent. So they basically have gone back and forth, and then now that Apple is in a situation of like, well, we are probably going to need to go 5G before we're ready for this whole, like, we make our own antenna or modem type thing. They decided this long lawsuit that they basically did not want to pay Qualcomm, that they just like, all right, we're settling. So they settled for $4.5 billion.
Billion with a B.
Yeah. So they just went to their bank.
$4.5 billion.
And they wrote a check, and it didn't even look like it moved their numbers at all.
Because it doesn't. They're so
apparently
rich.
They became a $1 trillion company again.
Oh, cool.
So I guess that the way it worked is, I don't know, the market and all that stuff, it fluctuated, so they dropped down from $1 trillion. They were at $1 trillion, then they dropped back down. Now they're back up at $1 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
So like all this weird news that Apple's had with, settling all of these lawsuits that they've had pending, it's almost like it's helping them. Like, okay, they don't have this pending stuff over their head anymore. Now they can just move on.
Yeah. Okay, so this $4.5 billion payment on a $1 trillion company. To break that down, we'll just say a person making $80,000 a year had to pay $360.
You totally lost me.
That puts it in perspective for you. So Apple has $1 trillion. They paid $4.5 billion. If you've got $80,000,
that's only $350.
$350.
Oh my gosh.
It's. I mean, you said it didn't even move anything, but I wanted to know, like, okay, how much did it not move anything? $360 is nothing, right?
That is so small.
So small.
That's crazy.
That's what you have to do when you start talking about these huge numbers that companies deal with. Like, it's a literal drop in the bucket.
Yeah, it's literally just, a
cost of doing business.
$100.
Yeah.
Jeez. And I really think that this is just to buy them time so they can make their own. I think they'll make their own. They already make a lot of their own chips. Like, they make their main processors and their GPUs and all that stuff. So this is just another thing so they can get out from underneath the wings of other people.
Right.
And so they save face by paying this money and agreeing to pay everything that they promised to pay from the get-go, which is kind of dirty on them because they do the same thing, right?
Right.
They do the same thing to app builders. They charge you 30% based off of your price that you sell your app for. So if you have a 99-cent app, they're getting 30%, but it's much less than if you have like a $50 app. Those are rare, but so it's like they're not doing anything else different, right? The distributing this software is no different to them.
Absolutely.
Whether it's $1 or it's $50, and they're making more money. So it's like, come on, Apple, you're playing. You're asking people not to treat you a certain way, but you're treating other people a certain way.
The golden rule.
What's that?
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they didn't.
They're not doing it.
They're not following that. It's chaos. So that was kind of interesting. They settled that, and then all of a sudden they became $1 trillion-dollar company again.
Yeah.
But the good news is maybe in a year or two we would have 5G. The bad news is more than likely Apple's going to be behind the game on this 5G thing. So
because of the disruption in Qualcomm service?
No, I just think it's Apple's thing. I think they try to plan so far ahead, and they really have really good products that last. They're durable because they don't throw the latest and greatest thing in them right away. They typically wait. They
test it out.
Yeah.
They make sure it's going to work.
So it'd be a very big surprise if there's a 5G antenna inside the new iPhone that comes out in fall.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's not going to happen.
But yeah, we got WWDC coming up here in 30-ish days, I think. Right around 30 days, 1 month, sometime in June, beginning of June. So we'll see some new stuff from Apple on that. Hopefully we'll get something exciting. But
and just to remind our listeners, WWDC is Where Would Dolphins Crawl?
Yep, that's it. Moving on. So I read something really interesting. I didn't even think about this, but this is just typical of, like, I can see Amazon doing this. So Amazon, I guess, has this like master plan to like make all their warehouses people free. And they said it'll take about 10 more years and their warehouses will just be robots.
Last week you asked me what I thought about self-driving cars, and I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about robots, I'm like, that's crazy. But that's even less far-fetched, because in a warehouse, everything has a place, everything's in a system.
Mm-hmm.
The robots will know exactly where everything is, and it's just a pick and pull process.
Right.
And yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then you don't have people complaining about how they have to pee in a bottle, because if they walk across the warehouse to go to the bathroom, they get in trouble.
I did hear that they have
they have serious labor concerns.
Yeah, in their warehouses, the way that they work, they actually,
it's not awesome.
Apparently they rate them on how quickly they're picking products.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's like a whole don't slack on your job type thing, but
Yeah,
I have a feeling it's like almost the equivalent of a dude with a whip standing around by you. Move faster.
I think that's not far off. It seems pretty inhumane.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
So maybe this whole robot warehouse thing isn't a bad idea.
Maybe it's good for the people involved. I mean, yeah, they're not going to have their jobs, but maybe they don't. Maybe this isn't a good job for anyone to have.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe the robots will take all of the crummy jobs, and new jobs will come about because.
And that's what always happens.
Yeah,
you're going to have people to work on the robots, and.
Well, not only that, you're going to have. This is going to sound kind of weird, but you're going to have people that have downtime that come up with new ideas.
Oh, right.
Because not all ideas are created by professors and people with super high levels of paid education.
That's always the argument for somehow getting to a utopian society where you no longer have to toil to live.
Mm-hmm.
Like when everyone is sitting around and enjoying themselves,
mm-hmm.
and everything is being taken care of, people are free to have a thought.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And so
yeah. I totally agree. I think there's something to having a little bit of free time. Too much can be bad.
Too much can be bad.
And some people will take advantage of that. But
when you're not just worried about surviving.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing what else you can think about.
So we're going to have robo-taxis, and then whenever you order something, you're going to have robots pick it for you, and you're probably going to have a robot deliver it to you.
Fly through the air and drop it in your backyard.
Yeah, so it's robots everywhere.
The drone thing is real, right? The bigger cities have that.
I think it is.
Isn't that crazy?
You
can get 1-day shipping.
Well, Amazon
or
said
InstaShip.
Amazon did say that was going to become a standard. 1-day delivery. That was their goal, is to make it to where it's 1-day delivery everywhere.
Do they just have warehouses all across the country that I don't know about?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, they got to be huge. I mean, you think about what all they store in those things.
Amazon this is hilarious. Amazon secretly has a network of tunnels under the United States, like those bank
Yeah. Yeah.
suction tunnels.
Well, so they're just they're just putting inside have you ever seen the lines for the gasoline? They've got these things called pigs. Have you heard of that? They're just
Pig a pipe.
They're just putting products in the pigs.
Right. And letting them run.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The world today. It's crazy.
It
Full
is
of robots.
crazy. Full of robots.
And they're probably all going to attack us one day.
One day. So we both listened to the podcast The End of the World with Josh Clark.
Yeah. It's been a while, but yes.
Yeah. Do you remember what he said about the AI that's only job is to make paper clips?
Yes.
Maximize the number of paper clips that can be made?
Mm-hmm.
As long as you program it properly, like, it will just do whatever it can with the resources provided to make as many paper clips as possible.
Yeah.
But if you don't tell it, don't destroy humans, it will figure out how to connect itself to the internet. It will figure out how to mine humans for whatever minerals that we have, and it will use us to also make paper clips until eventually all the humans are dead and you're just left with a planet full of paper clips. So you have to be careful with AI.
So this is what's going to happen. Time travel is going to become real. Somebody's going to time travel or find a parallel universe, or aliens are going to come here in tens of thousands of years, and it's just literally going to be a robot and just paper clips everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's all it is. It's just rusted paper clips.
Yep.
Stacked up to the atmosphere.
It's going to be sweet.
We'll be like, what is this planet made of all this metal? Oh my gosh, it's paperclip land.
Yeah, so there's that.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have for the day.
Okay.
You want to do some crazy tech?
Let's do some crazy tech.
Let's do it.
This crazy tech brings all the peep to the pod, and they're like, it's better than yours, damn right. It's better than yours, I could teach you, but I'd have to charge.
You even brought in music.
Production value.
Oh my gosh. You have stepped up your game tenfold.
Tenfold. You know who that is?
That I do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
Because I didn't.
What?
I didn't know who it was. I had to
like
look it up.
Fergie.
No.
I thought you were doing Fergie again. I was like, man.
Oh, and by the way, that was the Black Eyed Peas last
Okay.
week. It wasn't solo Fergie.
Okay.
That's Khalees.
Oh, really?
I think it's a one-hit wonder.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know they still made one-hit wonders. But I didn't know anything else by her.
Oh, yeah, I would have had no idea that that's who that was. That was a pretty popular song.
It was a pretty popular song.
So my crazy tech is just it's not super crazy, but it's just, I think it's kind of cool.
Just new.
Yeah, just new. Garmin came out with a couple new bike computers. They have the Edge series, and I think the most popular one is their 500 series. They came out with a new one, the 530, and it retails right around $300. The thing that I thought was pretty cool about this was it's got a 20-hour battery life with GPS. That seems to be pretty long. And you can buy a battery pack from Garmin that extends it to 40 hours. So you can ride your bike for 40 hours with this extended pack, and that GPS will keep running.
That's pretty cool, because we know a few people, I mean, not like know and hang out with them, but in our cycling group here in town, like, did the ride across Iowa.
Yeah.
Trans-Iowa. A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I know that they had to recharge their units while they were out there, so they all had to buy those battery pack sticks and plug them in when they stopped, and some of that kind of stuff, because it was a, leave before daylight, end after dark type of ride. So 20 hours is a real good start, and for some of these real endurance cyclists,
because
to be able to
did it take them?
I think it was 18 to 20 hours.
So,
I mean, they would have been pushing up the limit.
But if they bought that battery pack,
good to go.
they're good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 40 hours
That's a long
of
time.
GPS signal with a battery pack, 20 hours without it. And these things are pretty thin. They're thinner than like the normal ones.
Sure.
I mean, I guess not that it really truly matters on a bike. I mean, some might say it does, but to get a 20-hour battery in there, that's impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
The other thing that I thought was pretty cool that I don't think that they did on other ones, and you might correct me if I'm wrong, but they have turn-by-turn navigation on this one. Did they do that on yours? Because you have the 520, right?
I have the 520, and it does have turn-by-turn.
See, I thought that was pretty cool. The one that I have, I can't remember which one it is. It's not the 500. It might be the 510. I don't think it has turn-by-turn built in. I can download, like, maps, or I can download, like, routes, and it'll tell me where to turn. But this one, you could plug in an address.
Oh.
And it's like, it acts like a car.
Oh. Mine doesn't have that. Mine has what you're talking about.
So that's what I think that this is doing
routes.
now. Yeah.
Mine has routes.
That this will do turn by turn based off of getting you to a location.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I'm sure that you can tell it to probably choose bike safe routes. So if they know that there's bike lanes and stuff based off of the mapping information that they've got.
Sure.
The other thing that was really cool is that they've got a screen specifically for e-bikes.
Nice.
So it'll show you
they know what's
e-bike information. That was pretty cool. And then there is you can do the apps like you can on your watch. And they have one out there that you can download maps from Trail Forks. And you can see all of like your off-road maps.
Oh, cool.
And they actually will keep them all color coordinated. So if it's the yellow trail or an orange trail, you can tell by looking at the screen what color trail you're on. So if you're out there riding, you're like, I want to stay on the orange trail, and all of a sudden your trail is like blue, you're like, crap. I must have missed my turn.
Uh-huh.
So
that's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat. But yeah, no, the Garmin Edge 530, $300. Sounds like a pretty good GPS for pretty much anybody who's interested in biking. It'll connect up to all the normal accessories.
I'm trying to remember how much my 520 was. It was right around... I mean, stuff with bikes, this is pretty much how it goes. I know that iPhones keep getting more expensive every year, it seems like. But, like, anything with bikes, it seems like the new thing that comes out is the same price as the last thing that was out, and that old thing just drops down.
Yeah, I bet you could find yours for probably $200
now. Probably, yeah.
And yours is an awesome computer.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, I would not hesitate. Solid. I mean, the only thing that would lean me towards this one versus yours is I'd have to look at the battery life on yours, and because if it's not 20 hours. I mean, not that matters to me, but if I was somebody who was like, I'm going to ride 20 hours, then I would be like, okay. But then also the e-bike thing.
I know for a fact, because I've done a few centuries, those tend to be, after you factor in stops and stuff, 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
It's good for that. I've never worried about it, but my battery's pretty low when I get back. So it's probably going to top out around 10. Yeah.
See, I had my 510. It's an older one. And I did a Century last year, and it died at 99 miles.
Oh, I remember that.
Yes, I was remember 1 mile away, and it died.
If it's not on Strava, though, it didn't happen.
I know. I keep getting harassed by people
everyone
at work.
that sees that is like, why didn't you just ride another mile?
Why didn't you do the full Century? I was like, Anyways.
So, yeah, the only other thing I'll say about my 520, and this could be my unit, it could be some setting that I have in it, not awesome for accurate mountain biking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does it not let you do the 1 second interval?
I've changed it to 1 second. I've used it both mountain biking and running, and I just don't quite get the switchbacks like you should. My watch does a great job.
See, that's interesting. You'd think that you'd get even better signal from the bike because it's out there.
And it's a big unit.
Right, and it's literally out there facing up towards the sky the whole time, where your watch is swinging around on your arm, and sometimes you put your hand in your pocket when you're running.
But I think
No?
No. But I think the 500s are, they're aimed at road bike riders.
Right.
I mean, which is a lot of open, straight,
Yeah.
not a lot of windy stuff. So
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
Whereas my watch is aimed at a runner who could be running anywhere.
It's true.
And it's got ultra mode, so like they expect you to take it off road,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, that's cool though. 530 turn by turn e-bike stuff, like that's
Yeah, it's got a lot of options.
Yeah.
I thought it looked like a nice computer.
yeah.
What's your crazy tech?
My crazy tech is sort of a follow-up from our battery/lawnmower episode.
Oh yeah.
So this week I finally pulled the trigger
Ooh,
on my lawnmower.
nice. You shot it?
I shot it right in the face. My lawnmower has a face.
I don't know why your mower has a face.
I drew one on it.
We know it almost doesn't have a deck.
That's right. No, I bought the Cobalt 80 volt self-propelled.
Nice.
Found the self-propelled on sale.
Sweet.
So it was $50 off. The push was not on sale, so there was only $50 difference.
Yeah, might as well.
Might as well,
Yeah,
right?
$50.
$50. And I put it together, and I haven't actually used it yet, but I've kind of pushed it around a little bit, and I had a self-propelled before. It felt like the mower was actively resisting if I tried to push
Right.
it.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like that.
Oh, nice.
So it's still got the bigger wheels in the back,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can push it around if you want to.
Yeah.
Plus I got the 6 amp hour battery instead of 5 by
Okay.
buying the self-propelled instead of the push, right?
Nice.
So that's sort of where I wanted to go with this, was the battery stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We compared your 80 volt Cobalt
Mm-hmm.
2 amp hour battery
Yes.
to my 80 volt 6 amp hour battery,
Yes.
and weight drastically different.
Yeah.
The dimensions also quite different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, length and width
Mm-hmm.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
The height is probably 4 inches. My battery's 4 inches taller than yours
Yeah.
if you set it on its end. So maybe 3. Anyway, we were looking at it though. The groove marks for sliding it into the mower, like all of that is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So these batteries, even though they were produced 3 or 4 years apart from each other, totally interchangeable
Yeah.
in mowers. And we were looking at it, and we think that your mower probably has enough clearance to still accept
Yeah.
this bigger battery too.
I think it would.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I couldn't even imagine. So if I went through on my old yard, I went through 2 batteries whenever I mowed.
Uh-huh.
That would be 4 amp hours, and you have 6.
Yeah.
I hands down, I would have easily been able to mow my old yard
Yeah.
and probably had a full bar left.
Yeah.
Out of the 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what are they rated at? Where's that one rated at? Probably like a half an acre.
So on both the push mower and the self-propelled with the 5 and 6 amp hour battery respectively,
Mm-hmm.
they were both rated at up to 1 hour of runtime and up to a full acre.
Oh wow.
And I've got a 1/4 acre yard.
Yeah, you're gonna have no problem.
And so I should be able to, if I want to push the front because it's flat,
Yeah.
whatever, I've got a slight incline in my backyard for neighborhood drainage. Like,
Yeah.
if I wanted to use the self-propelled back, like, I think I'm not going to have any issues on however I decide to run it.
Now, does the self-propelled, is it rear wheel or
It is.
It is. Okay,
Yeah.
I like that a lot better. I had one a long time ago that was a front wheel, and I didn't like it.
It just pulled.
Yes, but I had a John Deere that was rear wheel that I really liked. It seemed to.
I didn't know they made a front wheel.
Yep. There's a front wheel one. I think they were mainly like inexpensive mowers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah,
Gotcha.
they had a front wheel one. They do make all-wheel drive ones too. Which I
In
think
case you're
would
going
be-
off-road.
Yeah, in case you're,
You're always off-road.
in case you got some super steep incline.
Yeah. So, real quick, the last thing I wanted to talk about is I'm looking at Lowe's website at some price comparison stuff here. So, your 2 amp hour battery that still looks the same, it's green, 80 volt, is $130 just for the battery.
Okay.
My 6 amp hour is $360.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you pay for the amp hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is crazy.
My whole mower was $550
Right.
with the sale.
Right.
It was $550. $360 of that, in theory,
Is the battery.
is battery.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
I've got a $190 mower
So you can get a 2.5 amp for
for $160.
160.
You can get a 5 for $300.
Wow, that they aren't joking.
No.
Whenever they say
these
that
batteries
the
are
batteries
serious.
are expensive, that is the most expensive part of the entire mower.
For sure. For sure.
Wow.
I'm seeing one here, 80 volt, I can't read it, 2 amp hour on eBay for $95.
Okay.
But you're comparing that to 160 and it's used.
Yeah.
And you don't know how it's been used.
Right.
Used batteries are not probably something you want to get into the game of buying.
Yeah, I would want to look at that and see if maybe it was just being sold like as used because the package was damaged or something. Because you know how that is, like on Amazon.
Oh, sure.
They call it Amazon warehouse deals and they say that it's used, but it's really just like the package is dented.
Yeah.
So, well, that's
So
awesome.
I see now why so many of these, probably you're getting into the Cobalt ecosystem with a mower.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they have chainsaws and blowers and trimmers and all this other stuff. And a lot of times for that, you can find tool only.
Yeah, which is nice. I've done that a few times.
I can see now why, because you're probably not getting into the ecosystem with a chainsaw.
Right.
And so the chainsaw you can buy either way, tool only or tool with the battery.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense because if you've got a battery,
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's a big enough battery, a 6 amp hour battery.
Yeah.
You're going to have half of it left whenever you're done mowing.
right,
You want to go cut down your neighbor's tree,
right,
plug it into your saw.
yeah. So anyway, we were talking about
Yeah.
the comparisons before, and
Yeah,
if they were going to be the same size and all that sort of stuff.
I thought the weight was the most interesting. Like
Yeah.
the size thing did surprise me. I was like, oh wow, it is bigger, but the weight was significantly bigger. It's like, wow, they really packed whatever batteries are made of in that battery.
Yeah. So here's my thought. You've in your size battery, you've got whatever technology is involved in there, plus your battery cells.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a whole mess of AA's in there that are lithium ion,
Yeah.
and they're not AA's, but you get the
They
idea.
probably look like a double A.
They're a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
That Nova super battery, I saw the breakdown of like what battery packs are, and they are a little bit bigger than a AA, but not by much.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's just a whole mess of those in there. Well, in the bigger battery, you don't need more technology plus batteries. Like, all you're doing is adding 2 or 3 inches and stacking that full of battery
Gotcha.
cells.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah, it's
It's heavy.
surprisingly heavy. Like, I can't even describe. Like, maybe, like if you were to compare like a larger weight, so it's easier to grasp. Like, let's say your battery weighed 10 pounds. It doesn't.
Right.
My battery would weigh like 2.5.
Right.
Like, that's the equivalent.
But the size isn't that drastically
No.
different,
So
so
it
that makes it even worse.
it messes with you.
Yeah, it's like picking up a rock and picking up a similar sized piece of gold. Gold is so dense and heavy
Yes.
that you're just like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I've never picked up a big piece of gold, but all my chains that I've got, they weigh my neck down.
All those Cuban links.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That was a good one.
Yeah,
I like that.
good episode.
Yeah, I think that'll do it for us.
I think so.
All right. Do you want to tell them where they can find us?
No.
Okay. We're never going to tell you where you can find us.
You can't.
You
no.
can't find us. We don't drive a Tesla.
Guys, you can find us on the web at Lunchtime Tech Talk. There you can browse show notes and listen to episodes. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, and there you can rate us. Leave us a review if you want. Subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
Share it with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, hey, look, I'm getting smarter because these guys are teaching me stuff.
Maybe.
Maybe. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Lunchtime Tech Talk. You can find us on Twitter at Lunchtime Tech T1. You can find us on YouTube at
Yes.
Lunchtime Tech Talk or LT3. I'm
Yep.
not sure.
It's Lunchtime Tech Talk LT3.
LT3.
Yeah, if you just search for Lunchtime Tech Talk, I'm sure we pop up.
We do.
Yeah, if you subscribe, it will always pop up.
Oh, and ring that bell.
Mm-hmm. Ding.
Smash that subscribe button and ring that bell.
Leave a comment.
Leave a comment. Some people have, actually.
Yeah.
So people are finding us out there. You can find me on the internets at MSU Mac. That's MSUMACC. Mike, where you at?
Twitter at run_bike_Mike, and Instagram at runbikemike, and YouTube I have a separate channel called Run Bike Mike.
Run Bike Mike.
That'll be it for us, guys. See you next week.
Thanks for spending your lunch with us. Bye.
Bye.